On December 26 in the city of Chengdu, China, a new generation, stealthy combat aircraft made by Chengdu Aerospace Corporation had its maiden flight. Images and videos emerged in near real time, showing the highly swept flying wing aircraft accompanied by a J-20S twin-seat chase plane. This aircraft generated significant furor on defense tracking internet and news sites, with questions surrounding its role, capability, maturity, and more. For the community of People's Liberation Army watchers, this aircraft was not unexpected. Chinese next-generation fighter efforts over the last half-decade, indicators over the last year and a half strongly suggested a new generation/sixth-generation air-to-air combat aircraft would emerge rather soon, and these hints accelerated over the past 4 months, with increasing details on the type of platform to expect. The PLA watching community's working designation of this new CAC aircraft is the J-36, in reference to its expected tasking as an air-to-air/air superiority platform, with 36 reflecting the visible serial number, 36,011. I will review the lead-up to the J-36's maiden flight, current knowns and unknowns, as well as prevailing debates and narratives surrounding it. I will also consider its role in the PLA Air Force and key topics to consider in future. I have no particular opinion on calling the J-36 a sixth-generation aircraft and prefer to describe it as new or next generation. Furthermore, I will not discuss the new generation stealthy combat aircraft that Chengdu Aerospace Corporation had flown earlier in December, except to acknowledge that the emergence of that aircraft was somewhat surprising. The lead-up to the J-36 emergence holds uncanny similarities to the emergence of the J-20 nearly 14 years ago to the day, showing that history does indeed rhyme. Both were preceded by significant periods of credible rumors and increasingly granular predictions by the Chinese-language PLA watching community, but both aircraft emerged somewhat unexpectedly for individuals not up to date with the PLA watching side of affairs. At present, there has been no official Chinese state media or Ministry of Defense acknowledgement of this aircraft, and thus no official boasting or flaunting of the aircraft, its sophistication or role. The images and videos making the rounds on social media were captured by individuals on the ground in Chengdu, which is a major metropolitan city where the CAC factory is located. There are strong reasons to believe that the J-36 was preceded by multiple secretive flying demonstrators in the past, of which one possibly may have been captured by satellite imagery. The 36,011 serial number may be indicative of an aircraft closer to a developmental prototype than a demonstrator. Preliminary estimates of the J-36 suggest a length of around 22 meters and a wingspan of around 20 meters, though some have suggested a length as great as 26 meters. It features a low observable, double delta tailless flying wing platform with a rather voluminous and blended fuselage. A canopy is present, with some unconfirmed rumors that it may feature a two-pilot cockpit with side-by-side seating. There are two side air intakes of a carrot design, and also a dorsal air intake of unclear geometry. The aircraft is powered by a unique 3-engine configuration, presumably fed by one intake each, and imagery thus far seems to indicate a low observable exhaust design, possibly reminiscent of that of F-23. Some have suggested the two lateral engines may possess thrust vector control. A large central internal weapons bay is visible, which may be long enough to accommodate the very long-range PL-17 air-to-air missile, though it is unknown if the depth is sufficient to accommodate a rotary launcher. There are two suspected smaller-side IWBs as well, which look to rival the J-20's primary IWB in length. This is a large aircraft, with some estimates of its maximum takeoff weight exceeding 50 tons. Dual-wheel main landing gear is testament to its mass. However, substantial control surfaces on the aircraft's trailing edge are also visible, including split-flap rudders on the outboard wing positions, and may indicate a complex and ambitious flight control regime, particularly if the engines also possess TVC. Naturally, there are far more unknown characteristics at this stage. The identity of its current power plants is unclear, with some suggesting either 3WS-10 variants or 3WS-15 variants. At this stage, there are no credible indicators to believe any of the engines are different or intended to operate in a separate flight regime from the others, such as a ramjet. The full intended weapon suite, sensor fit, avionics, networking, electronic warfare, EW, materials, and power generation are all unknown as well, and will likely remain so for many decades into the future. Overall, this appears to be a large airframe optimized for signature reduction, range, internal volume, and high altitude as well as high-speed performance, with the ability to maneuver at higher speed regimes, but perhaps not seeking to optimize maneuvering in subsonic speeds. The PLA watching community has been marginally more forthcoming on the J-36's role. A summary of credible descriptors indicates that relative to existing fifth-generation aircraft, this aircraft is intended to possess significantly greater combat radius, superior and omnidirectional signature reduction, significantly greater power generation with sensor and EW capabilities. It will possess a greater IDOB as well. Furthermore, the aircraft is expected to excel and operate in a system of systems manner alongside friendly unmanned platforms as well as manned aircraft. The J-36 is believed to possess much enhanced command and networking capabilities. Kinematic maneuvering is also expected, however, with less emphasis on within visual range domains and greater emphasis on higher speeds. The aircraft is primarily air-to-air oriented, though strike is a viable secondary role. I would humbly argue that the future of air superiority will emphasize stealthy, persistent manned platforms equipped with sufficient power generation, networking, and sensors to network with and command increasingly sophisticated and autonomous UCAVs alongside existing manned tactical aircraft. Aerial warfare will increasingly eschew within visual range engagements in pursuit of beyond visual range and system-of-system combat that is higher yield and more lethal, with design priorities emphasizing such traits as well. The threat of within visual range engagements in turn would be mitigated and countered through superior situational awareness to enable advantageous tactical positioning and first engagement opportunities through the platform or friendly assets. Going forward, the discourse surrounding the J-36 will likely be as interesting as the future development of the aircraft itself. It is likely that persistent debates over the J-36's role as a primary bomber will occur, despite the lead that the Chinese-language PLA watching grapevine has provided, and despite the questionable fit between the J-36 observable traits and likely PLA bomber needs. The identity of its power plant remains a mystery, as well as its future intended power plant. Going forward, the PLA watching community will track progress in developmental testing, initial production and service entry, alongside how procurement of the J-36 will proceed with other programs such as the J-20 family and the land-based J-35A related aerial combat platforms such as the H-20. And the many inevitable UCAV platforms of varying tiers will also be significant.